first of all, we want to thank everybody for being on the call together. My name is Kim Harrington. I am a branch leader here in the Atlanta market, and I am so happy to share this information with you that you're about to receive. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce a gentleman that I have tremendous respect for. I mean, Montel Watson, he is our Director of Diversity Lending and Strategic Partnerships. Not only that, his most famous role is being a dad and a husband. He's got 4 beautiful kids. Even though he squeezed a son in there, he's definitely a girl dad for sure. And the cool thing is that he walks the walk, and he volunteers with Charlotte Family Housing. And I don't know if you know where this place is, but he's from a little tiny town called Clifton Forge, Virginia.
Nobody knows what that's at.
I haven't heard of it. I tell you that right now. But I know this about Montel. Outside of his family duties, as soon as he wakes up until the time he goes to sleep, he is about making things better for communities that are underserved, especially when it comes to housing and the opportunities there. He is constantly working the phones in meetings, strategizing in order to get everybody to a level playing field. And it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce our man, the best person for the job, Montel Watson.
Man, Kim, dude, but I need to take you around with me everywhere I go, man. I was not expecting that, dude. Thank you so much, man. Gosh, I'm super excited to be on here with my Atlanta family. The A, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it in the A, y'all, right? Like, so I'm super pumped to be here. Got a fantastic crew here with me today, rock stars, all stars in Atlanta, helping support the Atlanta market. And what I want to do today, before we jump into it, because I think this is a powerful program and product that we have here at Movement that can help a lot of families, right? Help a lot of folks today. But I think it's always important to kind of ground us a little bit on the history, what a special purpose credit program is, why we're doing it, some of that information, right? Also the history in housing, along with a little bit of the stats around housing in some of our minority communities, you know, within Atlanta, right? And so gang, special purpose credit program. This was created, probably around about a year and some change ago. This was something that was approved and moved forward from the CFPB to give an exclusionary act to ACOA. ACOA previously had us in a place for our independent mortgage banks, where we were protecting some of the protected classes, some of your minority groups, to ensure that you do not have unequal and unfair lending towards these groups, right? And so understanding the history of housing, if we take a step back, before the Fair Housing Act being passed, obviously in Atlanta, you know, Dr. King, you know, fighting, and his life actually, you know, being taken away from him. And then days after that, having the Fair Housing Act passed. Before that, people of color, minority groups were not able to own homes, right? And understanding that, and there's a lot of other different pieces if you take a step even further back, with coming back from some of our world wars and the GI Bill and the VA product being introduced, a lot of expansion across the United States and homes being built, and people of color not being able to take participation in that, right? Your restricted deeds, all of the different pieces. And I want to have one little plug here. If you ever get a chance, read The Color of Law. It is a beautiful book around the history of housing, you know, in the United States. Powerful book. It is something that I read that has helped me in regards to being educated around some of the history of housing, you know, in minority communities. But having that understanding and having the understanding of where homeownership rates are in minority communities, both Black, Hispanic, et cetera, this was an opportunity to step in and say, hey, we have a chance to create programs and products that can actually help spur and create homeownership within some underserved communities, right? And so the special purpose credit program was passed. You know, Movement and several other lenders, you know, they jumped into action to want to be a part of that. So we are one of 15 lenders across the country, one of 15 that have access to have a special purpose credit program And this was approved some time ago, and we've been waiting on Fannie Mae. And as soon as it came to fruition, we were first in line, right? And so we are here, Atlanta being one of the cities that we actually could launch this in. We're super excited to bring this to our Atlanta community. Super excited to bring to our Atlanta community. And so understanding where homeownership rates are across the country and some of our minority groups, and Atlanta actually, above the industry average, right? About 4 percentage points above the industry average. So big love and shout out there, but there's still a homeownership gap, right? Still understand there's a homeownership gap in the Black community, in the Hispanic community, et cetera. This program is targeted for our majority minority census tracts, as well as our low to moderate income census tracts, right? And so understanding that, talking through that a little bit, I want to introduce some of our powerful folks here, our loan officers and our leaders in your market, so that we can actually jump into the nuts and bolts, who this is for, why we're doing this, the program details, et cetera, right? And then also one important piece, how some of you out there today are partners, how you can actually start to market, how you can leverage the product to help more families, right? So let's jump into it. We have Michelle Gaskin here. I'm pointing here because she's right here on my screen. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Michelle's a loan officer and what area are you in, Michelle? How about you just say that real quick and we'll go through.
I'm in the Marietta area.
Marietta, Michelle. Jarek, my man, Jarek Maddox, another loan officer. Jarek, where you at? What location you in?
I am in the Jonesboro area, Clayton area.
All right, my man. And Francisco near Francisco, where you at, my man?
I'm Team Gwinnett over here. So we're covering the whole city between us three.
I love it. And Kim, you guys got a chance to meet Kim Harrington, who is a special dude to me. I've known Kim for a while. Fantastic leader. Y'all got to follow. Actually, make sure y'all follow everybody on here on social. Each and every one of you. I'm about to give Kim the social media shout out there. You put great content out there. But make sure you follow everybody. And also Cindy Bush, Donna Garrett, who we couldn't have done this without you guys, and Josh Kovac, the market leader in Atlanta. So let's jump in, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it, right? All right. Talk to me. Kim, I'm going to come back to you first.
Okay.
Talk to me. Why is this important, Kim? Why is this important?
So for me, what we're doing is personal. So I grew up in New York City. I know no accent, but I grew up in New York City. I lived in almost all the boroughs, but mainly Harlem, up in Manhattan. I lived in Brooklyn, and I lived in Queens. And I lived in areas that were underserved. When I lived in Brooklyn, I lived in the Marcy Projects in the Williamsburg area of Brooklyn. And growing up there, you don't really know anything's different. I mean, we would have fun, we'd enjoy ourselves. We didn't know that we were in an underserved community. However, when I lived in Queens, we would drive out to this place called Gow's, G-O-U-Z, Gow's. And it was a dairy. And this was a dairy that sold milk. It was open to the public. But every time we went there, we left where we lived to get there. And things were dramatically different. I mean, it was just dramatically different. But we didn't know what we didn't know. And so I think that our perspective on life cannot grow unless our environment expands. This program allows our environment to expand. And I know we're going to get into details of it, but just because we are in that census tract does not mean we need to stay there. So there's opportunities to go ahead and get outside of that census tract. And so that's why it's special to me.
I love it, man. I love it. That's a powerful story. Marcy, huh? You got a little Jay-Z, kind of connection right there. I love it.
The hair older than him though. Just a
little bit.
Yeah.
Jared, I'm gonna pass it to you, man, because Kim gave us some good why around it. Why do you feel this is important?
Well, definitely. I mean, since I've been doing loans for about 7 years, and it was a time where I felt like the industry didn't get us as minority loan officers or home buyers. So I pushed movement to make a difference and let's be what we're called to be. Let's be a company of the people. We're here to love and value people. So speaking with the CEO Casey, and got an opportunity to explained to him my thoughts. So he was on board. He actually felt the same way, that there was a gap in home ownership amongst minorities, African Americans, that needs to be addressed. And from there, that spurred on to where Montel is now, the Director of Diversity Lending. I don't know of any other company that has, such a platform to advocate for minority home ownership. It's important because I see it every day. I'm pretty sure the realtors out there, they see it every day as well. And even personally, like just, with my family, my parents didn't buy their first home until they were 50. And so, that, to be honest, that's a problem. That's a problem. We need to have more education centered around it, and more programs like this, to where, there's a push for home ownership, because, we've had obstacles, like Montel talked about. We've had real obstacles that we've had to overcome to be in this position to become a homeowner. In addition to programs like this, education is important, so that we can shift our mindset from what we can't do to how can we accomplish this. So that's where I am now. It's just, I'm here to help educate, minorities about the possibility of home ownership, and that it all starts with you. Like, there's no excuse. There's no nothing that you can't overcome to put yourself in a position to become a homeowner. And this program is just another tool to help you to get to that goal. So I'm excited about movement, what we're doing, because I don't see this anywhere else, especially when we decided to do this as a choice. We weren't forced to do this. We weren't forced to bring about these programs, or forced to have a director of diversity lending. We chose to do this because, we stand by our word. And we're a company that gives back, from schools to, now closing the gap in home ownership. So that's our why. We as a company, it's company focused. It's not just Jarek focused. This is a company focus. So I'm glad everybody could be a part of this and really see what we're about. So I'm excited, and that's my whys, because this is coming from up top, and we have people like Montel who's pushing it as well. So
Jarek, I mean, you pretty much got me my job, man. That conversation you had with Casey pretty much got me my job. Let's just keep it real now. No, but in all honesty, that speaks to the humble nature of our CEO, to listen, to understand, to want to be a part of change. Obviously, for our partners who are out there listening right now today, if you're not familiar with some of the work that we do, and you're not familiar with this, we have 50% of our profits go back into supporting the communities that we serve. This is outside of what we try to do in minority communities from a mortgage perspective, but 50% of those profits go into the communities we're trying to serve. And our biggest pillar is free Charter 1 schools, which we have schools coming to Atlanta. We have several Charter 1 schools coming to Atlanta. So I am super excited about that. Our CEO of our schools, she lives in Atlanta. She lives in the A, and she is a powerhouse. So y'all are going to start seeing some of our schools pop up in your communities that you are serving as well. So be on the lookout for that. And I sit on the board of the schools. So man, that is very, very near and dear to my heart. And speaking of Atlanta, just a little bit more, and I'm gonna keep going. I think it's very important. I'm sure some of you all probably know this, upward mobility. Atlanta is one of the worst cities for upward mobility, meaning if you are born in a zip code, you have a small, it's around 3 to 4% chance of leaving that zip code. We believe that home ownership can be the change in that. We believe that education can be the change in that, right? And so that's some of the major important pieces of what we have a mission and vision around as an organization, right? So moving on here, let's see. Who is this program intended to help? And gosh, we're sitting here talking the Movement Mortgage Community Assistance Program. We ain't even said anything about the program. The Movement Mortgage Community Assistance Program. Michelle, who is the program intended to help? Let's talk about that.
It's an intent to improve minority home ownerships in our census tracts, in the minority census tract, to help create generational wealth within our families.
Absolutely.
So the areas are Atlanta, Santa Springs, and Alpharetta. So if you live in those zip codes, then you pretty much qualify. You have to make sure your address qualify. And then also you can live in anywhere in the metro Atlanta area.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and I think it's also very important. And I know Francisco, we're gonna go to you in a little bit to get into some of the details of it, right? It's first time home buyers. It is looking to target those minority communities, right? But
Yes.
understanding you do not, I want to make this clear for our partners out there, you do not have to be a minority to qualify for the program, right? So I want to make sure that you understand that it is targeting those areas. We're looking to obviously have that impact, but you do not have to be a minority to qualify there, right? All right, Francisco, now I'm gonna pivot over to you, man. Talk to me about some of the details of the Movement Mortgage Community Assistance Program.
Got it. So the first thing is I want to kind of build on what Michelle was talking about with generational wealth. One thing that we notice predominantly in minority communities or communities of color is that there is, you know, like we mentioned before, a huge disparity of renters versus owners. And something that's crazy to me is that, you know, according to the US Census, the median net worth of a homeowner is about 80 times what it is for a renter. And if you look a little bit closer, the majority of that net worth comes from equity in home ownership. So getting people to the point where they can pull the trigger on that first house not only changes their lives, but the lives of their children and, you know, onwards from there. So, you know, I think this is wonderful. And so I want to give you guys, you know, the details of how this thing works. So the first thing is, you know, like my colleagues mentioned, you do not have to be a minority in order to leverage this program. You know, we're at a point where, you know, America's a melting pot. We're pretty ethnically diverse at this point. It's very difficult, you know, past a certain point to tell people exactly what ethnicity or demographic group you really belong to. I mean, you know, and so, you know, rather than trying to make people identify under a certain group in order to take advantage of these programs, how this works is we base it off of census tracts and the demographics within those census tracts. Essentially, you know, what Michelle was mentioning is that there are certain areas that happen to have a higher concentration of minorities. If you are not technically a minority, but you live in one of these areas, you're fine. You know, you can still access this program. So we don't want to necessarily exclude anybody, you know, just based off the color of their skin or where they say they're from. Let's figure out if they're in an area that is qualifying. So to get a little more technical, this is for conventional loans only. The reason being that this is a special program that was allocated to us from Fannie Mae, you know, one of our conventional market overlords. So for our government-backed loans, you know, we'll have to explore some other options. But for this, we're strictly talking about our conventional buyers. First-time buyers only. And the industry has described first-time buyers as individuals who have not had ownership interest in another property in the last 3 years, right? So after 3 years, the clock resets, you have access to these types of programs. This is my favorite part as an LO who traditionally has not done a lot of down payment assistance because of some of the strings that were attached to some of these programs. This is a grant. You do not have to pay it back. There is no seasoning period, which means that in our current interest rate market, you take advantage of this program, there's nothing tying you up and preventing you from refinancing once our market comes to improve a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna interrupt you. I want you to say that one more time.
Yes.
People in the back, somebody might be doing, you know, trying to write an email, write an offer letter right now. I want you to say it one more time because that is a very important piece.
Yes.
One more time for me.
This is a grant program. There is no repayment required at any point.
Love it.
Alexis just asked if they have to be in the home for a certain amount of time to retain the full grant. No, day one, you're fully seasoned. That's it. And then again, you can refinance. I'll give you an example. A very popular program that we have in the Atlanta market is Georgia Dream, which has a second mortgage component to it. They do not resubordinate, meaning that you have to pay them off in full in order to refinance. So if you were the type of consumer who maybe needed that help to get into the house, if the market drops, unless your financial situation has improved considerably, you may not have the means to pay off that second mortgage in full. in order to refinance. And, you know, I heard this straight from their mouths one time when I personally called to ask. So that is how they operate. With us, we do not have this issue. And here is the other really great part, guys. This is super, super important. There
Hold
are
on.
no income limits.
Before you
Yep.
go on, tell them how much is it? How much is the grant?
Thank you. Sorry, I totally skimmed over.
You're
right
excited.
now,
It's
all
okay.
in
We're all
all-
excited. We're excited.
You're right. So all in all, we're talking about $8,000.
Let's
I
go.
repeat, $8,000 in total, you know, grants that we're able to provide for these customers. And there's no like sliding scale. If you make this much, then you get a reduced amount of assistance. No, it's the same for everybody. And again, what I was about to say was there are no income limits. We're not going to punish you or your customers for being successful.
That's right. That's right.
That is huge.
Right. That's huge.
I've never heard of a down payment assistance program or any sort of assistance program at all where you didn't have to be a low to moderate income household.
That's huge.
I mean, this is unheard of. So again, in terms of qualifying, the way that this works is we essentially have a map and a list of something called FIPS codes, which are just unique census tract identifiers. And the address where they live today has to reside in one of these areas. It's very easy for us to check. So for our partners here who want to ensure that or clarify whether a potential customer of theirs is eligible for this program, you just reach out to us and we'll confirm that for you. You don't have to buy in your neighborhood either, which unlike a lot of programs that are like neighborhood revitalization programs, they want you to live in a specific area. We're looking at where you live now, but you can go buy wherever you want.
That's right.
Again, we're just trying to bridge the gap. And there's a lot more that goes to it than just making people homeowners in specific neighborhoods. And I think I covered it all. Montel, I miss anything?
Credit scores.
Credit score. So again, we're just going based off of your standard conventional loan. So the minimum credit score for consideration is going to be a 620. So although we do see success at different credit score tiers, it's just going to depend on the facts within the loan. But to attempt to qualify for this program, we are going to be starting at 620.
That's right. And then also your non-traditional credit. So folks that typically don't have a credit score, where do they come in for that? So for folks that do not have a credit score, we're going to look at a couple of other recurring responsibilities where they've shown that they have the ability to, basically manage their lives, such as, rent history, various utility bills, and other, insurance. And they're treated as a 680 credit score.
That's right. Yeah.
So your non-traditionals come in with a 680 credit score. That's if you have somebody, because that a large segment of the population of the folks that do not have the credit scores right are our Black and Hispanic communities. And that, what is that? They call it's like a term. It's like the invisible, the credit invisible, right? The credit invisible. Mm-hmm. And so those folks are treated like a 680 credit score. So I think that's another big win.
Yeah, that's huge. Guys, bad credit and no credit are not the same thing. No credit means you've just handled things yourself. You haven't necessarily needed to take advantage of financing those available to you. Whereas someone with challenged credit may have accepted some of these responsibilities and not handled them the same. We don't look at those the same.
Yes, huge, right? And so just to break down, so $5,000 grant can be applied towards your down payment and closing costs, and another $2,500 that can be a credit that can be applied to closing costs, right? And then you got there's a $500 appraisal reimbursement, right? So that's just so you guys can know what the breakdown is. I love seeing the chat. The chat's blowing up with questions and pieces that people were excited about. Hopefully we've answered some of those questions, man. So, but gosh, if you're not fired up about this, man, I'm here to get you fired up. I am here to get you fired up. This is a fantastic product. And we talked about, I just want to throw this out there too. I think this is very, very important. You have your Atlanta market, right? But this is also qualifying in Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, Memphis, and Philly, and the surrounding MSAs. I'm saying those major cities because that's the major MSA, but as Francisco kind of talked about, you can live in Philly, move, and this is just different scenarios. If you guys think about if you're licensed in different areas and all that good stuff, and you got folks that maybe You might work for an organization that handles where somebody is getting relocated. You know, different scenarios that you guys think about in your minds from a business perspective. There's different opportunities there, right? I know Atlanta is one of those areas where a lot of people move from to, right? So you have that as well. So if you think about your holistic business and the organizations you're a part of, it's not just in the Atlanta market. And like, you know, my man said, it's all about where you live now, and you can go and live elsewhere, right? And so we have the FIP codes so that you can understand the addresses and zips of where you actually can qualify for this. You have your loan officers who will help you out with that. Thank you.
Can I drop one more thing on them?
Yeah, come on. Keep bringing it, baby. Keep bringing it.
Come on, y'all. all we hear about is 2-1 buy downs, 2-1 buy downs. We do have this option available to include the 2-1 buy down. So if the seller is coming in and they're paying a substantial amount of closing costs, and we can stack this program on top of it, you know, we can make it so that this is substantially more affordable for somebody, you know, in that first 2 years. And they still, you know, are able to leverage the seller's closing costs so that they walk into the house with less money out of pocket as well.
I love it. That's good, man. Thank you for mentioning that. That's hot right there. That is a hot piece of it. I think it's very, very important. Very, very important. All right. So just we got somebody had something else?
Yeah, Montel.
Hey.
Just a couple of things that people are asking for you to repeat. It's Chicago, Detroit, Philly, and where else?
Chicago, Detroit, Philly, Baltimore, Memphis, and the A. And most importantly, the A.
And then we have another question. Can you repeat what the buyers will receive towards home ownership with this program? Can you repeat that breakdown?
The breakdown, absolutely. So you got the $5,000 grant applied towards down payment, closing costs, $2,500 credit to apply to closing costs, and the $500 for appraisal. And everybody, if you miss anything here, don't worry. You can reach out to anyone on this call. We'll make sure we reach out after the call to make sure that you get the information about the program, right? So do not worry if you miss anything. Want to make sure we answer every question on here today for you. But if you miss anything, we will make sure we get that to you. And also, there probably may be some pieces that you think of later. If there are questions you think of later, we want to make sure that we get you to folks to answer those questions, your local movement loan officers, right? So this is a program that is available at Movement, right? All right. So now we've talked about who this is for. We talked about the details. We talked about the why, which is the most important piece, right? Always leading with that why when we're doing this. Now, let's talk about our partners who are on this call. How can some of our partners utilize this from a marketing perspective? How can some of our partners make sure that they are communicating and getting this out to some of the communities that they are serving? Who wants to take it first? There you go, Kim. Come on, Kim, jump in there. Talk to me.
So my whole thing is if we really think about what we do for a living, and we're adding value to people's lives, and we're helping them achieve the dream of home ownership, it's more than us living at an address and working at an address. So that in itself doesn't make us part of the community. When we have programs like this that allow us to get in there and be part of the community and be difference makers, that's what it's all about. Now, on the business side of it, obviously, there's so many opportunities for you as a real estate agent. If you're on this call and you're a real estate agent, you've got so many opportunities. If you perceive the market to be slow, this is your opportunity to gain traction. All you have to do is identify these census tracts, go in those neighborhoods. There's apartment complexes, there's businesses. All we have to do is do what we used to do. Get out there and hustle and grind. And at the end of the day, we are helping people achieve the dream of homeownership. They may not have known it was available. And by the way, on that note, January 12th, mark it on your calendar. January 12th, we are having a Grab the Key event. Movement Mortgage Grab the Key event. It's going to be at the Gathering Spot in Atlanta on January 12th. This is all about education. So even if someone's not able to buy today, wouldn't you like to work with somebody and help them get to where they need to get? By the way, almost 100% of the time, a byproduct of that is that person is going to refer you to somebody that can buy today.
That's right.
So as long as we're doing our job, and being part of the community, this is super beneficial for everybody involved. And I truly love working for Movement Mortgage because that's what we're all about. We're about being other-centered and not self-centered. And everybody should love that.
I love it. I love it, Kim. I love that, man. I love the plug for Grab the Key. I'm gonna be back in the A. Grab the Key. I will be there. I'll be your host. So I'm super excited about that. We're gonna have some of your top agents. We're gonna have some of your top builders. We're gonna have influencers in your market. I might leak this out here a little bit. We may have a government official, a very prominent government official in Atlanta there. And so, gang, I'm super excited about that. Make sure you are there, and you're going to get an invite. Everybody here will get an invite to that event as well. And I seen some folks asking questions around how long will this be available? This program is available only for a short period of time until the actual allocations run out, right? And so this is Fannie Mae saying, hey, they don't even tell us how much allocation. They're just saying, hey, go use it. Go make sure that you promote this out in your marketplace. So we want to use as much as we can, as quick as we can around this, because they're not even telling us exactly how much. So man, it's very, very important that we get out to our marketplace and we talk about this as much as we can. What else we got? Francisco, Jared, Michelle, what are some other ways that our agents and our partners on the call can actually help communicate this out and make sure that the potential home buyers can know about this product?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've been doing that I encourage, especially for any buyers that you already have that's already pre-approved, pre-qualified. Sometimes buyers are a little hesitant in this market. There's some hesitations, even though there shouldn't be, because things aren't promised to change for the better. So it's always best to act now. But go through, if you have buyers that were already approved for conventional loans, have us take a look. And pull up, we can even pull up the zip code or pull up their address without even doing an application for them. And if they qualify, that would be a way to see if we can get them some extra money. That might take them from waiting to actually moving forward, because these funds, we don't know how long these funds are going to be available. And to the fact that, they got an extra $8,000 that they didn't have before. So I think, going through your current pipeline of buyers that you already have pre-approved, or buyers that were a little hesitant because they were a little short funds to close. This is a way to bridge that gap so that, we can motivate them to go ahead and press gas. Because like I had a conversation with a buyer last week. I had to be candid with him. I told him, you shouldn't have waited. Waiting did not work in your favor. So this is one thing that could help push those buyers to take the next step and get rid of that fear and anxiety that we see in our community a lot of times when it comes to home buying.
Yeah, and I think it's important, gang, as you think about this. If you have folks, send them over to your loan officers here at Movement. We can take a look at it. We can take a look at it in mass for you of where they potentially qualify. And put the information in, man, and give us an opportunity to let you know quickly. Hey, here, let's say that you send over 20, 50 potential home buyers, folks that are searching right now, or that previously were. We can take a look at it and send it back to you like, hey, here's out of these 50 folks, here's your 20 that qualify for the program. So let's rock and roll and let them know. Man, one thing that I don't know if anybody else has anything on this, but social media. Get out in front of your folks right now. Social media. The one thing that I think somebody told me a long time ago, that effing Facebook is for free, right? Get out there and make sure you are marketing to your community. They see your face. They know what you do. And this product right here, you have an opportunity to jump on with the Movement Loan Officer to do some co-branding around the actual product. We have flyers. We have all that great stuff. But man, do a segment around this, do some reels around this. I know for my social media folks, I know they know how important it is to do reels. Make sure you're putting it on your stories. Very, very powerful opportunity to make sure that you are communicating and talking to the people that know who you are, and getting it out in front of them, man. Anything else we have? Any other items for our realtor family before we take some questions to end it up?